All right. We are live 6 minutes early. I don't know what happened to the first live, but hopefully people are catching this. I have no idea what happened with the first. Dis, how are you? Red Cardinal, how are you this evening? Mr. Haunted, what's up, my brother? Kenneth, Arthur, Pups, how are you? Yeah, I don't know what happened when I first started the live. I had got it set, and then all of a sudden it switched me out and said no live available, so I had to restart it, which was really, really weird. Jersey Nightcat, how are you? Analog Oracle, Kimberly, Simone, Nick, how are you, buddy? Jimmy, I'll give you a holler tomorrow. Sorry, didn't get in touch with you this week. I was kind of out of my own little. I had migraines, and I'll call you tomorrow, brother. Frank Morris, Claire Harris, how are you? Wesley September, Brian Mons, Randy Mann, Candy Phillips, Mega, how are you? Troy. Nothing is expected, Troy. Just a like and a like and some love. I got some not sick, but great lot lizard stories for you guys tonight. Where's Janie? Where's Janie? Janie, I'm sorry. Ooh. Feel better. I just wanted to see if you were coming on. I checked. Everyone wishes you well, Janie. Janie ain't going to be here tonight. SDL, how are you? $175, how are you, buddy? Jimmy Haunted, I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay, brother? Ryan, how are you? Adam Condon, what's going on? SDL, did I miss anybody? Tom Page, how are you? San Francisco Poop Bucket, how are you, brother? It has been a while. Marcus. Tyler, what's going on? Oh, Christy Strom, how are you? Carla, it's 32 today. AG, Jan, how are you? Cat Gets, how are you tonight? Jesse Good. Poop Palace, baby. What's up, Monkey Crap? No, it's Mexican Coke. Why would I drink kosher fucking Coke? That's a stupid question. I think I've only heard like maybe one out of Lake Seminole, to be honest with you, or that area. What's up, Nick? Colleen? Micro Dork. I've been going up to the, considering I live here, but I've been going in there all the time. Vaping on a Jewel, Monkey Crap. Delirium, how are you tonight? I hope you're feeling well. Probably a shadow. I don't know. Shadow? I don't know what the purple crowns are. I have no idea what that means. What's up, Grant? How are you, buddy? Just be careful, guys. Be careful. Five rings. Bro, how about that game tonight? Fucking Yanks got spanked, buddy. Thanks, Jan. I didn't do anything to it. I just woke up and put shit and went burp like that. Spaghetti. We did hardcore, right, brother? Hardcore. Monkey crap. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything. I don't know why you're asking like these dumbass questions, but Mexican Coca-Cola has natural sugars. I got 3 great lot lizard stories tonight. 3. I want to see what this guy's IP is. Dude. Huh. Thank you, Carla. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. I gotcha. I got some great lot lizard stories tonight for you guys. This experience happened when I took a friend to a nearby lake for a hike. He had never been to this lake, so we hiked to a viewing tower at one end of the lake. We took some photos and enjoyed the view for a while. I said, okay, we should head back now, and we came down off the viewing tower. I told a friend to go ahead and I would catch up. I needed to relieve myself. David took off. I turned around and did my thing. When I turned around, I saw my friend walk off the trail about 100 feet ahead of me and walk toward the edge of the lake. He had this mischievous grin on his face. I kept my eye on him as I walked towards where he had stepped off the trail. I had the thought that he was trying to hide from me, so when I got to where he had stepped off the trail, I ran ahead to hide on him. I ran a minute, maybe 2, and as I rounded the turn in my trail, my friend was standing there calmly waiting for me. I was shocked. There was no way he could have gotten here, as I had just left him in my dust. I was looking back at him when I ran off and knew he was behind me. Only one trail, so no way for him to get to where I found him. What was this? I have no idea. I went back to that lake in the same area with a couple of different friends a year or so later. As we walked the trail, I was telling them of the incident I had previously had. One guy pulled out his cell phone and recorded the conversation, and when we played it back later, the voice that should not have been there, but was clearly heard. Robert, get out of here. There was no way my friend could get to where I met him on that trail. I left him in the dust, and he could only come from behind me now. It was not my friend, but it was something that took on his likeness. When I turned around to head up the trail, I saw my friend step off the trail. As I walked towards him, my eyes were on him the whole time, maybe 30 to 40 seconds. I never took my eyes off of him until I got to where he stepped off the trail and ran. I must emphasize there is no way for him to get ahead of me. I was on the only trail. Again, I ran hard for a minute or more, and suddenly he was on the trail waiting for me. It wasn't him who stepped off that trail. It was something else. Whatever it was, I saw him, as plain as day, and it was the exact replica of my friend. I believe the intention was to have me follow him or it to the edge of the lake. When I saw the grin on his face, I thought he was trying to hide on me, so I decided to run and hide on him. I have to say, I am thankful that I did so. 2 years later, in the same exact area, a voice was recorded saying, "Robert, get out of here." It was very mysterious. Thank you for letting me share. Make yourself wonder. Mikey, John Sumner, how are you, buddy? Poppy from Sweden. Izilla, how are you? Andy Davis, what's going on, buddy? How are you doing? Donna Harmon. Sean 11B. What's up, Jodo? Robert Sharp, shapeshifter, yeah. Or mimic or whatever they're called. That I think in the creepy pasta community, they are called flesh gates. But I think they are all in all a shapeshifter of some sort. Do you get my message? I just said hi, Joe. I don't know what message I was supposed to get. If you're talking about Facebook messages, I don't use Facebook often, so your best bet is to email me. And if I don't respond to your email right away, it means I didn't get it. Judith, Izzy, how are you? I will check my messages then for you, buddy. I'll check them. Bo Moose, how are you, bud? Sonia. I think what I'll do is I'll do like, Anushka, how are you? Oh, that's awesome. It was a rainy day all day today. Crappy and rainy in upstate New York. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Dan Gill, how are you? I'm not sure. I might have a few in here. I'm not sure though on the Ohio thing. What I'll do is I'll share a couple of maybe one more encounter, and then we'll jump into a lot lizard story. Because I've got some good ones that I can't wait to share. Sean B., I am jealous. We literally have had bull crap weather for the last couple of weeks. It's just been, and it's weird because we had a ton of snow. So, like, we are completely saturated. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much again. I appreciate that. You are awesome. Johnny Ohm. I think a Dogman was stalking me once a long time ago when I was hunting wild hog in the swamps of eastern North Carolina. I was 21, and I loved exploring the swamps where I had lived. And I got into hunting wild hog because it was pretty much an adrenaline rush. They're very aggressive here. I went into the swamp 10 miles from my house, where there are trails on dry land through a marshy area and heavily wooded. I heard something close by and stopped to look and listen and could hear something breathing very deeply and almost growling. Then it stopped. This happened a few more times, so I changed direction to try and get behind it and pin it behind myself and the water, but it changed direction on me. After about an hour of creeping around, I realized it was between me and the way out of the swamp. At this point, I started to get a little scared because I don't think a hog, I don't think it was a hog at this point anymore. I made the decision to get out of there by wading through the swamp in the water up to my chest. I believe it tried to follow me, but would not go into the water. I eventually made it back to where I could get to my truck. A few days later, I told a buddy's cousin about it and all the bones and weird stuff I had seen. He completely changed when I told him where I was and said to stay away from there. I asked why, and he would not say any more. Fast forward a few years, and I'm at his house, and all of his family was there, and his uncle came and talked to me. I heard you were out in the swamp hunting hogs. You're lucky you made it back. I asked why, and he said that's where their big dogs live. I asked what he meant, and he would not elaborate. I hunted a few more years, but not in that same spot, and eventually started working a different job and got into other hobbies, and also started playing in a working band, so I did not have time. I completely forgot about that day until a few years ago when I heard a Dogman experience on YouTube and immediately remembered. I've since heard many different experiences similar to mine. Thank you for allowing me to share. AG, how are you? Requeb Fleming, how are you? I have no idea what these crowns mean. I have no idea. It's nothing I did. Honestly, it's nothing I did. I have no idea. Emma, how are you? North Carolina. I was raised in Virginia, not far from Tazewell, very close to Kentucky. Well, thank you, Emma. Appreciate that. Bob P. Tazewell's a very interesting place. San Francisco Poop Water has it. I love Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is my favorite drink. Wrecker Girl. Paulo, how are you? All right. I think we'll get into, we'll start tonight. 5 rings. Who are you looking for? No, Janie is not going to be here tonight. She's very sick. Well, she started new medicine. What's up, Big Flick? You know it, brother. It gave you a crown, I guess. I guess it's some leaderboard. I have no idea what the leaderboard means. Ever had a ghost cat on your property? Not really sure. MJ Bates, how are you tonight? Not really sure. Thank you, 5 rings. Thank you. Moonglow, how are you? Lizzie will probably step in tonight. Lizzie pops in. She lives in Cali, so it's 9 right now. So she'll pop in, I bet ya. All right, here is the first Lot Lizard story of the night. These are the only fictional stories you will hear on the channel. Are you guys ready? Let me know if you're ready. I need 2 more yeses. Okay, 1. All right, here we go. The fluorescent lights of the Big Gulp truck stop buzzed with a nervous energy, a stark contrast to the usual hum of long-haul truckers and the sizzle of greasy burgers. Tonight, the aroma of diesel and despair was overpowering by something far more unsettling. The stench of wet moss and something faintly resembling gym socks left in a swamp. Lizzo, the undisputed queen of the Big Gulp's late-night clientele, adjusted her sequenced halter top. A sixth sense tingled at the base of her spine. Even for this place, which had seen its fair share of weirdness, something felt off. She nudged her cousin, BJ Betty, who was engrossed in a crossword puzzle titled Words That Rhyme with Dingle. "Betty, honey," Lizzo whispered, her voice usually booming, now a hushed rasp. "Something ain't right. put down the puzzle and get your pepper spray ready. Betty, a woman whose platinum blonde beehive practically defied gravity, peered over her reading glasses. Relax, Lizzo. Probably just Earl from accountant trying to serenade the waitress again. But even as she spoke, the double doors of the big gulp groaned open, emitting a figure that silenced the room. It was an ogre named Shrek, easily 10 feet tall, with skin the color of swamp mud and tusk yellow with something undefinable. He lumbered in, sniffing the air like a hound dog on the scent of a particularly juicy bone. And then there it was. Dangling precariously from the ogre's belt was a rubber donkey wiener, grotesquely large and color that could only be described as radioactive grape. It swung with a sickening rhyme. Its presence filled the room with a palpable sense of dread and morbid curiosity. The ogre let out a guttural roar that rattled the coffee cups on the counter. Humans! I smell humans and I am hungry! Panic erupted. Truckers scrambled under their tails. Waitresses shrieked, Shrek! The Earl from accountant promptly fainted, face planted into a plate of onion rings. The ogre's eyes gleamed with a malice intent, began to stalk toward a group of terrified tourists huddled near the lotto ticket machine. Not on my watch, you oversized toadstool, Lizzo roared, her voice cutting through the chaos. She stepped forward, her sequence top glittering under the fluorescent light, a warrior queen facing down a monstrous foe. Lizzo, no, Betty cried, but Lizzo was already in motion. She grabbed a gallon jug of maple syrup from the breakfast bar and hurled it at the ogre's head. The syrup splattered across his face, momentarily blinding him. He roared in frustration, flailing his arms wildly. This was Lizzo's chance. She lunged forward, snatching that rubber donkey wiener from his belt. You want it, Shrek wannabe? Come and get it, she taunted, waving the offending item like a trophy. The ogre, enraged, charged. He swatted at Lizzo, but she was far too quick, dodging his clumsy attacks with the agility of a seasoned pool shark. Betty, finally finding her courage and reaching for her industrial-strength pepper spray, joined the fray. Take this, you swamp-dwelling pervert, she shrieked, unleashing a blinding cloud of pepper spray into the ogre's face. The ogre stumbled back, clenching his eyes and howling in pain. Lizzo seized that opportunity. She grabbed a handful of chili peppers from the salad bar and shoved them into his nostrils. The ogre, now a symphony of pain and discomfort, roared one last time before collapsing to the floor in a heap. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much. The radioactive grape donkey wiener lied discarded beside him. Silence descended the big gulp. The truckers slowly emerged from their hiding places, their faces pale and bewildered. The tourists stared in stunned disbelief. Even Earl from accounting managed to regain his conscience, albeit with a face covered in onion rings. Lizzo, panting but triumphant, stood over the fallen ogre, the rubber donkey wiener still clutched in her hand. All right, folks, she announced, her voice regaining its usual booming authority. Show's over. Back to your coffee and lotto tickets. And someone, get this greeny garbage bag out of here. The big gulp slowly returned to normal. The waitress started cleaning up the mess. The truckers recounted their near-death experience. And Earl from accounting decided onion rings were definitely off the menu. Later, as Lizzo and Betty sipped the coffee, they reflected on the night's events. Well, that was certainly eventful, Betty said, adjusting her beehive. Tell me about it, Lizzo replied, staring at this rubber donkey wiener with a mixture of disgust and amusement. I'm thinking I'm going to need a raise after all, hazard pay, at the very least. What are we going to do with that? Betty asked, pointing at the offending item with a trembling finger. Lizzo grinned. I have an idea. Remember that guy who kept trying to stiff me last week? The one of the truckers with the Truckers for Trump bumper sticker? PJ Betty's eyes widened. Oh, Lizzo, you wouldn't. Lizzo just winked. Honey, after tonight, nothing surprises me anymore. Besides, a girl's got to earn a living, right? As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. The big gulp truck stop slowly came to life. But tonight, it earned a new legend, a tale whispered amongst truckers and late-night travelers. The story of Lizzo, the glorious lot lizard, and her cousin, BJ Betty, who saved the big gulp from a hungry ogre and his disturbingly large purple rubber wiener. And somewhere, a certain trucker with a Truckers for Trump bumper sticker was about to have a very, very bad day. Aaron Mick! What's up, brother? Monkey Poop! Roberta, how are you? Jay Williams, what's going on? How are you, buddy? Brittany Mitchell. Happy birthday, Jay. Happy birthday to Jay. Happy birthday to Jay. Happy birthday to Jay. Happy birthday to Jay. Jimmy fucking Baker's in the house. Well, see, I wanted to incorporate Shrek, and Shrek had his donkey. But this Shrek did not have donkey. He had a purple donkey rubber wiener. So, and her cousin BJ Betty, which if you know who Too Short was, you'll know where that name came from. Thank you, AG. Tony Glover, how are you, buddy? Thank you, Monkey Poop. Mind you, I've got two others. What's up, Adam? How are you? I believe that ogres exist. I know that if you've been with the channel, you've heard me talk about the book Neanderthal, how Neanderthal predation created modern human, not created modern human, but you know what I mean. That's the title of the book by Danny Van Drimeny. And he literally in his foreword states, Kakalina, how are you? That ogres exist and have since the dawn of time. Which, I mean, if you really think all the creatures could be, All right, here we go. I was 16, and at Omaha, Nebraska City Bus Depot, I boarded a bus to go home and was kind of surprised no one else was on it. I sat down, and as I did so, one other person boarded. This man stood out to me immediately because he was Caucasian. Everything about him was so dark. His black hair, his eyes, he had very deeply tanned skin. I felt uncomfortable about him once our eyes met. I felt silly thinking so, but even his aura, I guess, seemed so dark and humorless. He creeped me out. I broke eye contact, but he never looked away from me. I was trying to appear oblivious to his staring, but I was glancing around to monitor him. This man seemed entirely malevolent and calculating. I could feel it. He made my skin crawl. I don't understand why the bus was not noticing it, and I didn't know how to go to him for help, the bus driver. Nobody else was getting on the bus at any of the stops. I really didn't know what I was going to do because it was like this man's intentions were being broadcast to me directly. He was going to get off at my stop, follow me, and hurt me badly. I was sweating and feeling sick to my stomach as my stop neared. I wasn't sure what I was going to do because this was before cell phones and nobody was waiting for me at my house. I got off of my stop and so did the man. I walked as if still oblivious until I was sure he was following me. As soon as I rounded the first turn toward my street, I bolted. He gave chase, but I was ahead of him and had an animal panic fueling my speed. I turned around the next corner, my street, and a few houses in, dove behind some hedges. I could now see out, but was relatively certain that he could not see me. If he had turned down my street, I planned to run through the backyards until I found a good hiding spot or saw a neighbor. This was the time before after school and workday ending. I didn't want to lose precious time by knocking on doors of houses without adults in them if he got near me. I saw the man slowing down from the run. He was looking for me. He spent a while passing back and forth, looking around and down my street. I stayed put until I hadn't seen him for a while, but not so long that perhaps he had walked the block and might surprise me by coming upon me from the other way. I made my way to my house by walking through everyone's front lawn in case I needed to hide or use their backyard as an escape. I made it home without encountering him again. Even as an adult, 30 years later, I still occasionally dream about this man, and in the dreams, he is simply slinking, ink black demon in vaguely humanoid shape. And as crazy as it sounds, his presence is so starkly and plainly evil that I almost think that's exactly what he was. Black-eyed adults. DB Mac, what's going on, brother? There's no trolls here, Bull Moose. I think Aramic was saying ogres trolls. No, SDL. I've done black-eyed adult experiences before. There was that one where the guy had gotten off the airport in New York City. Johnny the Wad, how are you? Rockin' steady. What's going on, buddy? I knew what Aramic meant. Good to see you, Tracy. Good to see you. I don't like black-eyed anything either, man. They are terrifying. The cat that haunts my house comes out of the wall, ceilings, and have it on camera. AG, I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Truly, truly, truly. Well, I'm glad that you're here with us. Mora, how are you? Please do. Please do. Samara, how are you, Samara? Cynthia. It's because I had a hat on earlier. Yes, Johnny the Wad. Yes, they were crawlers. Yes, they were. 100%. Let's see what I've got for you here. All right, so I stumbled upon some very interesting stuff, and I was reading. So I don't know if you guys remember when I got that email, and the guy sent me a package, and it had a my brain just shut off. My brain just completely shut off. I'm holding it in my hand, and I can't even remember what it's called right now. This thing. My brain just shut off. Not an SD card. Oh my God, why is my brain not working? Anyway, a ton of information. And so I started to go through it. Thank you, flash drive. Thank you. And so I started to go through it a little more. Now it is mobbed full of shit. And that's where all that reptilian information I get that from, and a lot of info on Dulce. So there is there is a piece written in there about aliens and different kinds of aliens. And there actually is a alien race of feline like creatures that are bipedal and are very large and dangerous. Trying to find it. I saved it on here because I wanted to talk to you guys about it. I think it's right here. But the felines, okay, the lion people. And I found this experience and I immediately thought about this. So the feline are one of the two primary races of the universe. They arrived here by invitation of the founders, having successfully completed the universal game and completing the universe. A group of 45 felines volunteered to come. The felines are a bipedal race that stand somewhere between 8 to 12 feet in height. Their skin is covered with a fuzz. They do not have fur, but they do have mane. Both male and female have long hair. Their eyes range from blue to gold and can change from blue to gold as they mature. As a race, they are extremely close and have great sense of fair play. After Devin something. Anyway, they actually supposedly per this and they joined with the reptilian Greys and Draco to like do business. But I found that interesting because there's a few different encounters about these things. And one is right here. I encountered a cat-like humanoid being in the woods in northern Queensland, Australia. I was working at a security detention center in a place called Waipa up here. It's vast land there with woods stretching for miles and miles. It was around 3 a.m. when the encounter occurred. There were 4 security posts around the fence line, which we had to man and make sure the detainees did not escape. I was stationed at Zulu 3 post, which was situated behind the detention center, where those 7 Lebanese detainees escaped 3 months before I started working here, which is actually 7 Lebanese detainees escaped in Queensland at a jail when this was written. At 3 a.m., I was sitting at my post watching a kookaburra bird swoop down from the top of the tall fence to the grass, collecting bugs, lizards, etc., when I heard a crash in the woods behind my post. This caused all the occupying kookaburra birds to wake up and call. There were thousands of them up here in northern Queensland. I quickly got up and ran to see what the commotion was all about. That is when I saw what the birds were hacking at. It was a cat humanoid standing 2 meters behind my post. It was making its way through the trees until it saw me standing there watching it. It stopped and put both of its hands up, which looked like long claws. It stood somewhere between 9 to 10 feet in height. I was trying to see what it looked like through the darkness, but all I could see feature-wise was the shape of a cat's face, like a tiger. Honestly, it looked ferocious, and it was built like it was made to do serious damage, standing on 2 feet. It then walked backward into the woods and vanished into the darkness. I was so glad that I had a 40-foot fence between me and it. For the remainder of my time working there, I kept my back facing the detention center and my front facing those woods. This encounter I will take with me to my grave. I honestly, Delirium, have no idea what they are. No idea. Thanks, Amanda, Crazy Life Channel. 110. Oh my God. Or 101. Durr. Rocky Michaels. 101 degrees is excruciatingly hot. I would have swamp ass all day long. It was like 58, 59 today in upstate New York. Patton, is God the battle? I was just listening to I was listening to I'm Your Neighborhood Spaceman. Peeping Tom, one of Mike Patton's, one of my favorite Mike Patton bands ever. That and Tomahawk. I love Tomahawk. Don't know who I am, where I've been. I don't know what his question is because I missed it. So how am I supposed to answer it? Not tonight, Orion. Not tonight. I'll try to find it really quick, but if I can't, I'm not going to spend all night looking for it. I might have to answer or ask it again. Can't find it. Love the love. How are you? 90 here in the swamp country of Western Kentucky. Hydro, I didn't see your question, but could you ask it again, please? I have one. Are Dogman more prevalent in different parts of the United States? Okay, so I think there is on the East Coast, I believe on the East Coast, in what I think there's, I hate the word hotspot, but I believe that there is a 5-state East Coast hotspot, which would consist of like North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia. So those 5 states, and I don't believe that I don't believe they all like are from there. Well, I think they for some reason are there and then spread out. You have a lot more attacks, like especially in Virginia, in Tennessee. But I think that area of the U.S. would be more apt to see dogmen, and that's just my own belief. Taylor, Mississippi, I think they go more west. They travel south from there, Sumner. But I believe that you'd see more of a, if you were to go into the Appalachia and spend some time there, I would not doubt that you would not, you would see Tazewell, Virginia, definitely. I believe in portals. So are you new here, Bull Moose? Because, I mean, that's a question that, yeah, I believe in portals. So I do believe in time travel. The, Philadelphia experiment obviously happened. My dad is doing great. Thank you for asking, Claire. 100%. Ruban, how are you? Wiley, what's going on, buddy? Edward. I wouldn't say they're upland. No, I definitely wouldn't. I disagree with that. I don't think there's anything that could verify that 100%. Me and Dark Waters were talking about one day. We were looking at a kind of a map of like water tables and such, and they seem to gravitate towards water tables and large ones at that. I don't believe they're upland, because that'd mean you'd only see them in elevated areas, and they've been seen all throughout, No one said the earth was flat. Could be. Doubt it. Well, that's as they travel, Sonia. I was talking about where they would be in the surrounding. You know what I mean? Definitely not hydro. What's up, Kent Chip Ristle? Thank you, Tara. Thank you. Oh, shit. They definitely, like, a water table is different than like using a like a stream or a lake. Like, water tables are flat areas where it's hard to explain without googling like the prime. It's not just like a lake or a river, it's in that area. But we were talking about how a lot of sightings are in that area. Hey, Neck, I just sent you a message. Read it, please. I got a Black Eyed Kids experience for you. Anne Berlin, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm the boss. I don't think I am. My daughter doesn't think I am. I wish I was. Did the noises stop in the house? No. Periodically, they still occur, Kent. Periodically. I'm not really sure like what it is. I know like there's a video where I captured on my SLS camera. I caught like a weird not a stick figure. It was a large mass that was in the infrared camera part of it. So there's a video, Tracy, where a guy is sitting in his car. A guy's sitting. Frederick Hillman from the Philippines. That's awesome. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I got a friend that I graduated school with, and he lives in the Philippines. He actually, like, right after college, went to the Philippines and lived there. Ramek! Thanks, brother. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Aramek is awesome. Aramek is my brother from another mother. All right. Black Eyed Kids. Ania, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope I said your name properly. Brian Mons, thank you, brother. Ania, I'm pretty sure I did. If I didn't, please correct me. $20 is $20. Oh, awesome. Thank you. $20 is $20. Will be coming soon. I had never heard of Black Eyed Kids until I encountered them, still not knowing who or what in the hell they are. I did what any modern young man would do. I Googled them. I was shocked that I was not the only one. Had I not seen them for myself, I would have just thought it was another modern-day urban legend gone viral. Besides my girlfriend, I've only told my brother, who is into everything creepy and horror. I'm an accountant. Well, you're definitely into horror then. My girlfriend and I live in a small gated community in southern West Virginia called Glade Springs. The community is about 150 houses, a country club, and a steakhouse bar called Bonkers. Now, anyone can come through the gate during business hours, but after they close, the front security gate stops all traffic and makes sure you're a resident. If you are a visitor, they call the house that you're going to verify that you're actually expecting them. Sometimes it's a hassle, but hey, you don't want to have to worry about robbery. Imagine my surprise when my doorbell chimes at 2:30 in the morning. I was jarred awake and was not sure if I was dreaming, considering I had just gone to bed shortly before. I rolled over and looked at the clock, noticing the time. And when my doorbell chimed again, I could feel the cold chill run through my body. Not reading too much into it, but it could be that one of my neighbors has an emergency, right? I nonchalantly made my way to the door. Now I see how foolish I really was and open it. Luckily, the wrought iron storm door was still locked because who or what stood before me was not a resident of the community. Two young boys stood at my doorstep, one looking about 17, the other about 10, wearing dark hooded sweatshirts and jeans. The one had shaggy, dirty blonde hair and would only look down at the stone steps. The older one had his hood pulled and his head tipped to where I could only see half of his nose down. My voice caught in my throat, and before I could even ask what they wanted, the older one spoke. His voice sounded forced and dry. There was no emotion or sincerity in what he said. I'm sorry to bother you and your girlfriend, but we need to come in and use your phone. We've been in an accident. I felt the familiar chill return to my body. How did he know my girlfriend was here? I wrote that off as my Tahoe and her VW were in the driveway, and I figured they just assumed. I tripped over my words. Something about these kids was not right, was not normal, was not human. I can bring my phone to you and you can make a call. I don't get service inside here, so you'd have to stand on the sidewalk and call, I finally said nervously. Of course, I was lying through my clenched teeth. I did not want these kids inside of my house. Well, my brother really needs to use your bathroom. Chuck, can we come in? The older one said. And that's when I went into complete panic. He knew my name. I'm sorry, are you from here? How do you know my name? The words practically shook out of my mouth. That's when he became slightly hostile and demanded to be let in. And I told them that I was sorry, but I could not help them. And just as I was about to close the main door is when it happened. The both of them snapped their head upward and looked straight into my eyes. Black, no iris, no pupil, no retina, just pure deep black. And I was paralyzed in fear. For a second, I thought these kids were playing a really cruel joke and had snuck into the community somehow and had bought some of those freaky supernatural demon contacts. And that was until I heard ringing sound in my ears. And then the flashback started. That's when everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was shaking awake. I was being shooken awake, lying on the mudroom floor. My girlfriend standing over me with a worried look. What the hell, Chuck? She said. I had no idea how to answer her. My head had taken a good whack. Jimmy, thank you so much, brother. Against the slate floor, and a bit of dried blood was stuck in my hair. But other than that, I was fine physically. I slowly remembered everything that had happened and looked at the door. Daylight. I'd never been so happy to see morning in all my life. I told my girlfriend everything that had happened, and I honestly think she thought that I had brain damage from hitting the floor, but she insisted she believed me. And then we Googled it, and I believe that's when she really started to believe me then. I don't know who or what they were or where they came from, but they're not from this world. I know that for a fact. For some reason, I had a lingering thought. I'm still not sure if they put the thought in my head or not, that they wanted me to know that even my memories are not safe. They are very strong and seem to be growing in numbers for some reason. They seem not to be able to hurt you physically unless you let them in, which I don't know, since either no one has ever let them in or ones, which I don't know since either no one has ever let them or the ones that have aren't around to tell. but they can get into your mind. Since that night, I feel as though I am being watched. I see them out of the corner of my eye occasionally. I look at my girlfriend while we were at the movies or dinner, and her eyes will be solid black for a split second. And worst of all, they took one of my most precious and most often reminisced memories and turned it into something sinister, something that's now a constant reminder of the black-eyed children. Fuck that. Mindy Weeks, how are you? Dora, how are you? Southern Charmer, how are you? Yeah, black-eyed children are the worst. They are the worst. Rockin' steady. Free Will. What's up, Ed? How are you, buddy? What did I miss? Let me see what I missed. Walter, thank God you haven't witnessed them. I definitely don't want you to. Abner, how are you? Abner Garcia from Florida checking in. Nice to see you. Jimmy Haunted. Save. Do. Ron the Pipe Fitter, how are you, buddy? And thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. Bull Moose, thank you. Thank you, really. I really appreciate that. I really do. Raw dog. You're good. You're good. Just that you're here is good enough. Trust me. All right. It's name the tune. I'll give you a hint. The song is a 1980s, late 80s, 90s cock rock tune that was everybody who was in the high school years danced with their girlfriend or boyfriend to this song and probably made out to it. Name that song. No one's going to get it. No one's going to get it. It's 90s, early 90s cock rock. Oh, they toured with Guns N' Roses. And Bon Jovi found them. I just gave you guys the greatest hints ever. Oh my God, Rockin' Steady got it. Skid Row. I'll remember you. Well, almost. But Mr. Haunted did. And Simone. Where would I like to go for a week? New Mexico. Dulce. $20 is $20. There you go, DB Mac. I'll do that song in a little bit, Hydro. New Mexico, Dulce, Taos, Los Alamos region, definitely 100%. Sangre de Cristo Mountains. I definitely will. I'll make you buy me a coffee. No, I'm just kidding. I'll remember you, Savage Lunatic. I sell my holes for pancakes. Oh my God. Spaghetti? That's not right, buddy. That's not right. Did Shrek come visit you with his big purple fucking donkey wiener? It's like this. It flops around. Pancakes are gross. French toast is way better. Lindman! Holy shit, brother. Thank you. Certain areas seem to have more aggressive dogmen, while other areas more docile. Do you think the level of aggression could be related to the proximity of a deep underground military base? If so, could aggression be based off if they have been genetically modified? Banger of a question. Lindman once again strikes. That's a great question. Wow. Here's something that I talked about with a guy that Tim Baker put me in touch with. He works with the North Carolina State Police. He's not a police officer. He works in the cyber division. He's like a computer nerd. But we were talking one day, and he was talking about how he believes that dogmen and Bigfoot can be possessed by demons. I believe that some possibly are demons. I believe that gray aliens and reptilians are demons. But if they are by dumbs, yes, I think they are more aggressive and genetically modified to protect that area. The ones near Dulce, the ones near the Eye of Canada, you hear a lot of encounters where they're aggressive in Virginia. So yeah, I really think that you're great question. And yeah. My dad, John Sumner, you are a filthy man. I'll buy when on the third when I get paid. Pine Barrens here in South Jersey. Pine Barrens. I Shine 101. For the Pine Barrens, you got to get this book, I Shine New Tales from Old Haunts, by a good friend of mine, Paul Evans Pedersen. This book and Mr. Haunted's two books are two of the greatest books I've read that pertain to paranormal stuff. What time is it? Little bit. I can ride my bike into the I can ride my bike to the Pine Barrens. I'll ride my bike to the Pine Barrens. I'll ride my bike with no handlebars to the Pine Barrens. I can ride my bike with no handlebars. No handlebars. Look at me. Look at me. She might pop in tonight. She might pop in. I'd make it in the Pine Barrens. I've made it in where freaking Tom Mezek disappeared in and out many times before. Pine Barrens are. Good night, Ken. I am not a breakfast person either. What's up, Randy Boone? How are you? Dude, I don't know what your issue is, but you're a little fucking twat tonight, Bull Moose. If I guarantee where Tom Mezek disappeared is far worse than where the Pine Barrens. Pine Barrens isn't that scary. Actually, I've been to the Pine Barrens before when I was younger. What's up, Gavin? Maybe I thought about it. I thought about doing that. I've been to where Tom Mezek disappeared at 3 a.m. and I didn't really like that too much. But I'd do it again. I'd do it again. The North Everglades. I'd love to see the North Everglades. I think swamps are cool. Thank you, Aramic. I love you, brother. I love you in that way. Drunk Boxer 82 the Hun. We live in Poland along the Czech border. This is relative. We live in Poland near the Czech border. This is relevant because there aren't many large predatory mammals around. About a year ago, we took an off-road vehicle into the nearby forest, and we've been in many times during the day or night. We parked near and walked across the bridge to the other side of the woods, which are surrounded by mounds, probably old war trenches. First thing I noticed was complete silence. The only sound was the crunching of dead leaves as we walked. The second thing I noticed was that all of the grassy plants and shrubs on the ground had been crushed and were facing the same direction, as if a herd of buffalo had come from the mounds and trampled them down. As we are walking closer to the mounds, suddenly we hear this heavy thud on the ground, maybe 5 meters away toward the mounds, like 60 kilograms weighed just landed. We don't see or hear anything else. We decide to get back to the bridge, which is 20 meters away. When we get there, still on the side of the mounds, we stop and shine our flashlights into the forest. We don't see or hear anything. 30 seconds later, we begin to cross the bridge, still with our flashlights pointed at the forest. But now in the bush, about 3 meters away, there are 2 sets of round yellow eyes staring at us. The first set is about 2 meters from the ground. The other set is about 1 meter. We had just shined our flashlights in the exact spot and are still in earshot of the bush. How did this thing move so quickly without making a noise? We walk the rest of the bridge backwards while shining our light into the bush. The whole time, these eyes are watching us. We jumped into our vehicle and hauled ass out of there. Luckily, it did not follow us. Whatever this creature had stopped, stared, and stayed beyond the bush, the other side of the bridge. I can't tell if it was after us or just making sure we had left the bridge. We went back the next day. There were no animal prints near the bush or signs of disturbance, although we did find some animal bones on the top of the mound. Anyway, I have no idea what this possibly could have been. I had been suggested that it may have been a crawler. What's up, Tommy? How are you, dear? Maggie Mayhem, I'm sorry I forgot to say hi to you. I apologize. Awesome. I'll check it out after the live, AG. Thank you so much. Jacob Hilliard. I didn't catch you until just now. What's up, Jeb? An appointment with my psychic next week, but he'll call me up and told me I'll make it. That's fucking great. Well, thank you, Maggie. Is it time? I think it's time. Wait, you've got tornadoes hitting your area again, Tommy? Jacob, I got your email. I still got to get back in touch with you. I apologize for not getting in touch with you sooner. I've got your email sitting right on my studio downstairs. I truly apologize. I will. I do promise. I think 2 live streams ago you got hit too, right? That's fucking nuts. Hang on. Speaking of nuts, I got to do some adjusting. There we go. That's better. Thank you, Shackle Neck. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Neck. Big Neck. What's everybody saying? Congratulations. What did I miss? What did I miss? Brandy. Full custody of my 3 girls back. Congratulations, Brandy Boone. Congratulations. That is such an achievement, and it feels good. I guarantee it does. These nuts. All right, here we go. Let me pick which one I got. All right, here's a good one. Are you guys ready for probably the funniest? This is probably one of the funniest ones that I put out. I'm pretty proud of this one. Pretty proud. All right, here we go. The fluorescent lights of the Starlight truck stop buzzed like angry wasps, casting a sickly yellow glow on the cracked asphalt and weary faces. Earl, a trucker built like a brick outhouse with a heart softer than a newborn chick, nursed a lukewarm coffee and watched Lizzo from across the Greasy Spoon Diner. Lizzo, a woman whose curves defied gravity and whose spirit defied the Idaho desert, was a legend in these parts. She was a self-proclaimed lot lizard with luxury, and tonight she was rocking a sequenced jumpsuit that shimmered despite the grime. Earl had a soft spot for Lizzo. She was funny, loud, and always made him feel like he was the most interesting man in the world, even when he was just rambling about diesel prices. Suddenly, the diner door creaked open, revealing 7 figures that seemed wrong. They were short, even shorter than Earl remembered the last time he saw little people, with beards that looked suspiciously glued on and eyes that gleamed with a malevolence that could curdle milk. Well, butter my britches, Earl muttered, recognizing the infamous evil 7 dwarves. They were a notorious bunch, known for causing trouble at truck stops across the country. Their mischief ranged from stealing hubcaps to spiking the diner's coffee with laxatives, but local legends whispered of darker deeds, kidnapping, blackmail, and a penchant for forced karaoke. The dwarves, led by a particularly grumpy-looking fellow who Earl suspected was named Grimy, instead of Grumpy, marched towards Lizzo. "We've been looking for you, shiny lady," Grimy croaked, his voice like gravel gargling. "You're coming with us." Lizzo, never one to back down from a challenge, planted her hands on her generous hips. "And why on earth would I do that, you vertically challenged villain?" "Because," Grimy leered, revealing a set of teeth that looked like they had been gnawed on by a beaver. "We have a proposition for you, a very lucrative proposition." The other dwarves snickered, their beady eyes fixated on Lizzo. Earl didn't like the way they were looking at her. He didn't like it one bit. He slammed his coffee cup down. The sudden noise silenced the diner. "Leave her alone," he growled, his voice a low rumble that shook the floorboards. The dwarves turned their attention, shifting to Earl. Grimy sized him up. A flicker of apprehension crossed his face before he replaced with a sneer. And what are you going to do about it, trucker? Earl rose to his full, intimidating height. I'm going to tell you to get your pointed little hats out of here before I use them to polish my boots. The dwarves, despite their outward bravado, hesitated. Earl was a mountain of a man, and even 7 of them might have trouble taking him down. But Grimy, even the stubborn instigator, puffed out his chest. We're not afraid of you, he shrieked. And with that, the dwarves lunged. Chaos erupted. The diner, usually a haven of greasy comfort, became a battleground. The dwarves, surprisingly agile for their size, swarmed Earl, nipping at his ankles and climbing onto his legs like angry squirrels. Earl, despite his size, was surprisingly light on his feet. He swatted at them with his massive hands, sending them flying across the room like bowling pins. Lizzo, meanwhile, wasn't idle. Grabbing a bottle of industrial-strength hot sauce from a nearby table, she sprayed it directly into the dwarf's face. They shrieked and sputtered, momentarily blinded and disoriented. But they were persistent. Grimy, dodging and flailing arm, managed to grab Lizzo's legs. Gotcha! He cackled. And that was the last straw for Earl. A primal roar erupted from his chest as he scooped up a stack of salt shakers. He hurled them with pinpoint accuracy, each one connecting with the dwarf's head with a satisfying thunk. The dwarves finally realized they had been outmatched, scrambled toward the door. Grimy, dragging his feet. We'll be back, he screamed before disappearing into the night. She won't escape us. Silence descended on the diner, broken only by the wheezing of the cook, who had been hiding under the counter. Lizzo rushed to Earl, inspecting him for injuries. Earl, you're amazing, she exclaimed, her eyes shining. You saved me. Earl blushed, embarrassed by the attention. Just looking out for a friend, Lizzo. He knew, though, that it was more than just friendship. He was smitten with Lizzo, with her outrageous outfits, her infectious laughter, and her unwavering spirit. He knew a lot lizard like her had no business getting involved with a big rig driver like him. Lizzo surprised him, throwing her arms around his neck. Thank you, Earl, she whispered, her voice suddenly soft. You're a true gentleman. She kissed him then, a quick, unexpected peck on the cheek. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. As they cleaned up the mess, Earl realized something. Maybe, just maybe, a trucker from nowhere and a lot lizard with luxury could find something real in this crazy world. And if the evil 7 dwarves ever decided to come back, they'd have to go through first Earl, and he'd be ready, salt shakers in hand, his heart full of a newfound courage and a burning love for a woman who shimmered brighter than every star in the Idaho sky. The night ended with Earl walking Lizzo to her trailer and kissing her goodnight. After Earl walked away, Lizzo said to herself, that big oaf just might be the one. Tommy, good night. Thank you for popping in. Thank you, Aramic. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, Amanda Crazy Life Channel. I hope you have a good night. Randy Man, thank you. Glimmer of Hope from London, how are you? Earl is always the hero, but he's finally getting some love. He's finally getting noticed by Lizzo, the old lot lizard. Oh yeah, baby. Tigger is doing well. Tigger hid all day today because it rained all day. Doyle Thorne, how are you? And thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. They keep getting better, I think. She kissed him just on the cheek. Just on the cheek. Aramic, no, you're too kind, bro. You don't have to do that. You're way too kind. Lizzo is a hard 5, but a hot 5. A hot 5. Dude, I'm sure he will. Lizzo is the hottest 5. She's almost a 10. But she's definitely not a 10. But she's a hot 5. Stormy is awesome. Stormy is a great little kitten. And yes, SDL. But big old Tig is the best ever. What's up, J Channel? How are you, buddy? Just a cheat. I think Earl's a hard 5. But Lizzo's definitely a hot 5. If you catch the twist on that. Drewski loves game. What's up? Almost, Jay. Almost. RV Jackpot, how are you? I know, Brittany Mitchell. It's crazy. But Lizzo does not use filters. Jeff Torrey goes in. Oh, that's awesome, Kathy Hayes. That's awesome. She'll be in my prayers. Fighter flight 9 here. Large Marge. I gotta put her in. A story. Large Marge has got to meet Lizzo. She's got to. Nicole, I heard that as you're supposed to blow it, I believe it's to the east. And when I blew it while I was where Tom Mezek disappeared and I captured the metallic sounds, I was standing to the east that day. When I blow it out here, I'm facing the west, but I will add Large Marge. Largy Margie. Largy Margie, such a big lady. Love her to pieces. Large Marge. I'm from South Central Kansas, and our city is a former railroad town and is settled on a former Osage tribal ground. I've grown up in the country my entire life, and I've seen many strange things, but nothing that couldn't be explained until this incident. One night, 2021, two of my friends and I were doing what small town kids do, driving around at night, bored, stopped at some of our family farm fields. When we stopped at a field near a power plant that is about 3 miles from our house, we turned off the truck with the windows down, waiting to see if we could hear or see any coyote, because this was during thermal coyote season in Kansas. We sat and called for a little bit when I noticed a human-shaped figure in my thermal scope on the other edge of the field. I told one of my friends to grab the spotlight and shine it on the tree row. When he did, it illuminated a gray-colored naked creature. We began to yell at this guy, telling him he's trespassing and needed to leave. After 30 seconds of us yelling, the figure stopped walking and turned directly into the trees and disappeared. At this moment, we started scanning the field and noticed some deer around 30 yards from us that had no care about what we were doing and only seemed to care about what went into the trees. Not more than 30 seconds later, a deer walked out of the same tree row, but it was very strange. It acted like a deer with CWD, chronic wasting disease. After this, we began hearing very loud and strange vocalizations. We quickly got in the truck and left. Fast forward, summer of 2024, and I began noticing strange orange orbs at night in my pasture behind my house. When I first saw one, I thought it was someone with a flashlight in our field until I began watching it closer. It went up into the trees, then flickered out. It then looked towards the east and noticed another one in the sky. I went back inside and asked my girlfriend to come out with me, and I pointed to the orb. She said, "Look, there's another one to the south, same direction as the first." It may be worth mentioning that we only would see these orbs during thunderstorms after it stopped raining. One time, there were about 7 of them, and they formed a triangular-like formation in the sky and slowly rose higher and higher. I had a few more incidents with these orbs, and my uncle even asked me if I had seen any orange orbs or yellow lights in the sky recently. That's a good question, Julie. I often wondered that myself. Pizza does sound good. When are you going back to where Tom disappeared? Probably this week. I think Tom is alive and well living in the desert, I think. Tracy, Tom who? Which Tom are you talking about? The Thomas V guy? Or whatever? With the V cave? I can't because I can't do a live from up there because there's no service up there. Are orange orbs real though? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have seen orange orbs. Ronald Murphy Jr., who is a researcher who's been researching, he's a professor, has seen many different colored orbs. Tracy, who are you talking about? Michael, what's up, buddy? Vic Lion, what's up, buddy? I know people have seen tonight, Michael. I know people have seen blue ones with Bigfoot. There's a correlation between blue ones and Bigfoot. Yes, okay. I figured that's who you were talking about. Hang on a second. God damn these things. Blah, 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 blah. All right, that's better. Bup, 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 bup. There we go. I knew that's who you were talking about. I don't know. I don't think he's. I don't know. I don't know what channel you're talking about, but if it's the one I think you're talking about with the people, the guys that claim that that family was not or killed in the thing, I think he's in a deep underground base somewhere. Definitely not walking around. Fuck. Hang on. No, I think I know who you're talking about. The guy he went looking for the M cave. And he usually like carried a weapon with him, but he didn't this time, I believe. It's a crazy case. Yeah, I know who he's talking. I figured out that I've been saying there must be a lag in this. Insectoids are there's like writings on the insectoids. I'm not really sure. Kenny Beach. Thank you, Sumner. Kenny Beach. Yeah, he's definitely in a deep underground military base somewhere. That poor soul. Yeah, it does. I think Aramic was just joking, cop caller. Actually, I know he was. Like, Spawn of Seraphim, joke. Joke. Sonny! How are you? On August 19th, 1972, two boys, Robin and Gordon, were standing at a recreational center on Thetis Lake where they saw a scaly creature emerge from a lake and move onto the shore. It was, as they had described, roughly triangular shape with dark, large, bulging fish-like eyes and a mouth, and a razor-sharp spike on the top of its head. Its weight somewhere between 120 to 150 pounds, measurements around 5 feet tall. The two teens were terrified at the sight of this huge, scaly, amphibious monster and ran for their lives. With its sporting webbed extremities, the creature chased the two teenagers until a few distance from the lake. The voracious predator was able to catch up with one of the young men, lacerating his hand with its razor-pointed head. The two lads, still filled with terror, after narrowly escaping the grisly creature, rushed to the nearest Royal Canadian Mounted Police Station and told the officers about the incident on Thetis Lake. They showed them the cut that was claimed to have been caused by the creature. Authorities felt sincerely about the story of the two boys, hence they immediately launched a manhunt, or should I better say monster hunt, on the said lake. However, nothing turned up during the time of the investigation. The case was almost taken for granted until 4 days later, August 23rd of the same year, at around 3:30 in the afternoon, a Russell and Mike claimed to have seen the same creature on the opposite side of the lake. But unlike the report of the two teens that were pursued by the creature, this time it only emerged from the lake, looked around, and submerged itself back into the lake. Golden Nice described the monster-faced creature having a human-like body of at least 5 feet in height, with silver-colored scaled skin, sharp point protruding on its head, very large ears, and horrifying bulbous eyes. Jeremiah Israel, how are you, buddy? How are you? Pray, run, stand your ground. Yeah, okay. That's crazy. Book of Giants is a great book. Great book, Aramek. Dude, have you checked out Stephen Quayle's website? I know you probably have, Aramek, but I think everybody should check out Stephen Quayle's website. It's like full of fucking information. I'm on there many times. No, like 4 or 5 times. But there's a website, or not a website, a YouTube channel that I just found. That the guy, he's huge, actually. He's a really big channel. Well, thank you, Roger. I appreciate that, my friend, and welcome to the channel. There's a guy, he's got a YouTube channel. I think he used to be a magician. He's kind of weird. He's definitely weird. Hang on, I'll tell you. But he talks about like the Gnostic Bible and Nephilim and other like lost books of the Bible. He's actually really cool. Hang on. Morgue, the official. Hey, Jeff, if read this eventually and you want to go to Brave Road and investigate, let me know. My whole family's from Elkhorn. Dude, I'd love to go. When Belle turns 18, that's when I can. Then I will be able to, because Belly is almost 18 this year, and I'll be able to travel. Thank you, Roger. I really do appreciate that. I really do. Aramek, check out that guy though. Morgue official or whatever. It's not for everyone, and I don't recommend like taking everything seriously on his channel because it's definitely weird. But it's pretty good. Some of the things. Morgue, like Morgue. It's not for everyone. It's like it's interesting. And I don't believe everything he says. But when he like looks at lost books of the Bible, like the book of Mary Magdalene, because there is actually a lost book of Mary Magdalene, I guess, and it's pretty good. Like it's pretty cool. Back in spring of 2016. What's up, Ginger? How are you, buddy? Yeah, he does. He does. I'm still, yes, me and you, buddy. What's up, DL? How are you, bud? I hope that you're feeling better after your with everything that's going on. It is a new age channel. It is a new age channel. Um, he's interesting, but like he's not for everyone. You know, I had talked to him once, and I had brought up like the Orentia to him. Um, and I don't know, just interesting. I don't buy everything he says, but it's interesting sometimes. I I definitely Lake 17, that had been something in my mind at one point. I'd like to buy like a Sprinter van and like just make it like livable for me and Tigger. Back in the spring of 2016, a few of my friends were talking about their experience with some weird creatures in the desert southeast of Tucson near Vail, Arizona. The description sounded a lot like the Mothman, Aramik, though this creature had no wings. I was skeptical, but I didn't want to doubt my friends because whatever this was had really scared them. They said they had believed it was some kind of alien being. Later on that year in the winter, these sightings were far from my mind. I was visiting a friend who lived in Vail. I stayed over late that evening. At about 2 a.m., I left their house to drive a 25 minutes down I-10 toward home. Driving 50 miles an hour, when I approached a rise in the road, I saw a silhouette. Before I even proceeded that I was observing something, I soon realized that I had slowed and eventually stopped on the shoulder to get a better view. It was 20 yards or so away, standing almost in the middle of the road. Because of the rise in the road, I could only see this form from its hips up. It was very tall and looked human-like, very skinny, with long, thin arms and skin that was dark, leathery, and dry. Though there was a sheen to its body, the eyes were a reflective red color. I couldn't tell if it was looking at me or not. There wasn't another car in sight at the time. I'm usually very calm during emergency situations. I'm very interested in the unexplained phenomenon. But confronting this thing, the panic switched flip. My mind was telling me to hit the gas, but I was still sitting there staring at this thing. I looked down for a second, considering turning around and driving back to my friend's house. I put the car in first gear, looked back up, and the creature was gone. I immediately drove toward my house. I was shivering uncontrollably the whole way home. I pulled into my driveway, walked into the kitchen door, and became violently ill. I literally passed out in my bathroom. I didn't wake up until about 1 p.m. that next day. I dragged myself off the bathroom floor and immediately went to bed. I was totally exhausted and just wanted to sleep. I rarely left the bedroom for the next 5 days. I had no appetite and seemed like every bone in my body ached. One of my friends eventually came over and helped me into the living room. I ate a little bit, but I was still very tired and despondent. I didn't tell her or anyone else what I had encountered. I just said that I had the flu. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to share. Morgue, Julie. Morgue. Welcome. Once again, it's not, don't take everything that he says to heart. It's not like for everyone. He's on his own kind of trip. You know what I mean? What's up, Truth? Truth in Christ. How are you tonight? I've been getting migraines maximum this week, Nicole. Fletcher. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But there is a lot of interesting stuff, you know. Thank you, Vanessa. Dude, all week I had migraines, Simone. It was terrible. Craigers. There's the old rim god. The old rim god. Not rimmer. Aramaic. Thank you, my brother. Maine Coon Izzy got gifted a membership. I prayed very hard for you, DL, and your family. Aramaic is the giving god. I agree 100%, Brittany Mitchell. 100%. I agree with you. I totally agree. What's up, Patty? How are you? I don't know. I don't think Kreger, the rim god, heard me say hi, but hi, Kreger, rim god. Claire Harris, you're done? Done, son? Thank you so much. That's awesome, Pipe Fitter. That's awesome. Ron Pipe Fitter's dad, how are you, buddy? Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I did not, DL. I did not, my friend. So when you say old Earth, do you mean like Gnostic old Earth? Like Gnostic view? Terry Marshall, how are you, buddy? I heard that. I did hear that. Pipe Fitter's dad. We're just going to call you PD for now. Pipe Fitter's dad. Mothman 46. It ain't no fucking chicory here. Chicory. That shit is filthy. I would rather drink shit water than fucking chicory. I know. I was just teasing. I was like, wait, did she get pissed? Because I saw done in the check and I'm like, uh-oh. Claire's pissed. I hear you, Joe. SDL, check out the Urentia Foundation. Check their book out. It's a very interesting book. Once again, like books are great. Like Aramic's Bible that he gave me, I know what that Bible is. and I have it next to my bed, and I'll pick it up and look at it periodically. Like if I were ever to go back to college or go to college and like pursue a career, I think I'd want to be a theologian. Like theology is fucking amazing. Like I love learning, and especially about everything. There was a mud flood in Switzerland, I believe, this week. That was fucking gross. I can't believe Aramic did that. But yeah, that there was like this mud avalanche that came off the mountains in Switzerland, and they were lifting cows. they had they had a video of a cow like in a harness, like getting hummed by a helicopter away. Dude, it was crazy. All right. I have had many odd experiences over the years, lots of which come from my time camping as I work towards Eagle Scout. I've spent extensive amounts of time in national parks and in bush solo. There are places I generally feel pretty comfortable in, but some of my experiences creep me out so much to this day that it deters me from solo ventures. I'm still an avid outdoorsman, but I am also very cautious. This particular event occurred in 2007 in the Gila Wilderness, Gila National Forest, in New Mexico. I am from New Mexico and was raised in Roswell, so this is an area I have visited several times prior without many major incident. On this particular trip, I was with a group of about 10 other people. We were on a 2-day trek. For those who aren't familiar with Gila, it is a stunningly beautiful area with trails that follow a winding river that curves beautifully through the canyon. High cliff sides that are jutting up hundreds of feet through some parts of the canyon and dense brush. Overall, it is very isolated and has an odd vibe to it in certain places. I've always associated it with the fact that the area with ancient Native American history dating back to at least 9,600 years ago, or BC. I know of, or maybe further, lots of crazy stuff has happened here and over the years. It's compelling history. On this particular evening, we were camping in an area where the rivers make a U shape as it wraps through the canyon. It was a fun day, and I had even managed to catch some trout that I ate for dinner. Right around dusk, I needed to relieve myself, so I wandered away from our camp into what I would describe a ravine or arroyo, where floodwaters drain into the river. There was dense brush and a high sloping bank on either side. All in all, it seemed like a good place to dump a load. I made my way up the ravine, not thinking of anything. I walked into an unreasonable distance from the camp, which I found strange. As I kept walking almost absent-mindedly, or I was drawn further away, which is not my norm. As a preface, there is something I think many here are familiar with, known colloquially as the silence. Typically, this phenomenon occurs in nature where there is a large predator in the area, and I know from reading stories that many are familiar. Anyway, about halfway through, I noticed this eerily quietness, and I knew something was wrong. When I say quiet, I mean silence was deafening, if that makes sense. By this time, it's nearly completely dark, and I'm out of earshot of my camp. Alarm bells intensify. Hair stands on end. I notice a strange change in my perception, likely caused by a twilight phase of change. But the light around me seemed to become shrouded in shadow quite suddenly. It was almost like someone had one of those sliding dimming switches for a light bulb. You know that feeling you get when you are sitting somewhere public and you just feel someone else looking at you? That's when it happened, suddenly and intensely. A few moments later, I heard a loud, distinct crack and odd rustling 30 feet away. Above me, in the brush, it sounded like a person walking where no person should be. It sounded like human footsteps cracking twigs. I was petrified to make a move, but finished my business and stood as confident as I could to muster facing the direction of the sound. I was unarmed, And knowing what I know about predators, didn't want to make myself appear any more vulnerable than I was already, a kid in a ditch with his pants pulled down. In the dark, I've had encounters with bear, mountain lion, etc., but this felt much different. I did not have the high ground, figuratively or literally. I call out loudly, "Hello!" A few seconds pass and the rustling continued. Silence. With no response back after a few minutes. At this point, I felt beyond vulnerable and terrified, unreasonably terrified. In hindsight, after researching, I often wonder if infrasound played a role. With my hair standing on end, I took a few steps backward, and that's when I noticed the eyes. About 20 feet away above the bank of the ditch was a pair staring directly at me. I was in shock for a moment as it was near where I had heard that crack. Slightly iridescent looking eyes high above me on the bank. High enough that they had to either be a massive creature or a large creature in a tree branch. The silhouette did not make sense, but shadows played tricks on my mind and ears, or on my mind and eyes. I can't be sure it wasn't a large owl or something like that, but the circumstances and general feeling make me believe otherwise. The silence and heaviness in the air were wrong. It's hard to explain. Instinctively, I backed away slowly as I could, facing the eyes, and that's when I heard another crack above me and to my right. This made me lose my shit, as that noise was much louder. At this point, my fight or flight kicked in, and I turned and sprinted as fast as I could. Breathless, I made it back to camp and told my friends I thought there was possibly a large predator in the area, and we should make sure we bear bag and take precautions. Thinking back on it, I think it very well could have been a mountain lion or a bear. Who knows? One thing I know for certain is that I felt like I was in absolute danger, and all of my alarm bells were screaming to get out of here. Still freaks me out all these years later, and shade of the memory is always in the back of my mind. Whenever I go into the woods alone. What does spinach and anal sex have in common? If you were forced to have it as a, oh my God, dude, Aramaic, Aramaic, Aramaic. No, definitely not too far. Just far enough. Just definitely having mud floods on both though. Definitely having mud floods with both. Aramaic always lives dangerously. He's always got one toe touching the water. Just that one toe. Ugh. Fucking Aramaic. Oh my God. Great. My implants are healed totally. Thank you, SDL, for asking. And there's no any kind of pain whatsoever. Actually, like when I had the surgery, Eunice, how are you? Jane is sick tonight. Jane is sick tonight. But SDL, when I had the surgery, it wasn't as bad as I thought. But you know, I live in Ohio in a Cleveland suburb. This occurred in January of 2023 at 1 a.m. I woke up and I was very disoriented as well as sick to my stomach. It took me a good hour to fall back to sleep. Over the rest of the day, I had multiple unexplained bizarre sightings and apparitions. At 7 a.m., I wake up for my morning shower with the intention of going to work. It's still very dark, and I spot a creepy figure moving across my back porch. It was approximately 3 feet in height. I was so frightened by this figure that I locked myself in my basement, no windows or ways to peek in. Around 7:30 a.m., I hear unexplained noises, anywhere from banging to a boom, then a loud ringing in only one ear. Earlier that afternoon, I decided it was safe to leave and drove to a friend's house on the outskirts of the city. As I'm driving, I saw a large diamond-shaped light come over from a patch of woods. The light started to fade, and I could spot movement toward my car. It was a triangular craft with a dark graphite-like texture and color. The object moved away from the car and disappeared into the woods. I soon arrived at a friend's, and we talked about strange appearances. By the time I left at around 4 a.m. the next morning, my friend and I arrived at my house at 4:30. Well, that little pygmy figure appears again at 7 a.m. right on the dot. My TV goes crazy. The only thing that happens from then on is us getting into my car, driving 2 miles out of town, stopping, vomiting, and proceeding to the nearest church that I can find. I speak to the pastor at the church at 8 a.m., and he tells me bad things are associated with my house. But this did not convince me. So I am here sharing my experience with you. I pray I never see that dark, creepy figure on my porch again. What's up, Truth Quest? How are you? Aramic, I am not saying that one out loud. I'm not saying that one out loud. I'm glad that you're here with us, Truth. I'm glad that you're here with us. Thank you for popping in. Why do I keep reaching for the empty Coke bottle? We're about 2 hours in. I think it's time for the last lot lizard story of the night. The last stop, and I just heard 2 whoops. I'm lightened up, Johnny. I was joking. All right, here we go. Last lot lizard story of the night. And you know what? I might, because Aramic gives so many memberships away, I think I might include Aramic as a special guest of the next lot lizard. Saw Dogman in 2014. I'd love to hear it, not Ray. The shimmering heat rising off the asphalt made the desolate New Mexico truck stop look like a mirage. Earl, a trucker with a gut that strained against his western shirt and a beard that could house a family of Spiros, squinted. "Damn heat's playing tricks," he mumbled, pulling his rig into a spot near the flickering neon sign that proclaimed Stella's Pit Stop, best coffee west of Roswell. He needed coffee, strong coffee, and maybe a piece of Stella's infamous pecan pie, rumored to be so good that it could resurrect the dead. Earl chuckled, oblivious to how close to the truth that statement actually was. Inside, the air hung thick with the aroma of grease, stale ciggies, and desperation. Stella, a woman built like a brick shithouse and a voice like a gravel grinder, nodded at him from behind the counter. "Earl, you old buzzard, long time no see. Same as usual?" "You know it, Stella," Earl replied, sliding into a cracked vinyl stool. He glanced around. The place was surprisingly empty. He usually saw at least a couple of the regulars. Speaking of regulars, a vision in leopard print and sky-high platform boots swayed through the door. It was Lizzo, the truck stop's resident lot lizard. She winked at Earl, her heavily glossed lips spreading into a knowing smile. Hi, Earl. Haven't seen you in ages, truck breakdown. Earl just chuckled. Nah, Lizzo, just been running a different route. As Stella placed a steaming mug and a hefty slice of pie in front of him, Lizzo leaned in close to Earl, her perfume a potent mix of cheap vanilla and something vaguely metallic filling his nostrils. Listen, Earl, she whispered. Things have been weird here lately. Real weird. Earl raised an eyebrow. Weird was par for the course at Stella's pit stop. I'm serious, Lizzo insisted, her usual bravado replaced with a hint of genuine unease. The ghosts, they're getting handsy. Earl choked on his coffee. Ghosts? Lizzo, you been hitting the sauce again? Lizzo glared at him. I ain't lying. Old man Hemlock and Crazy Kathy, they used to just moan and rattle the ketchup bottles. Now they're pinchers, and not the gentle kind. Old man Hemlock and Crazy Kathy were local legends. Hemlock had been a trucker who died of a heart attack behind the wheel, his rig crashing just outside of the truck stop. Kathy, a notorious lot lizard from the 70s, reportedly met her end in the back of a semi under unfortunate circumstances. Earl laughed, a booming sound that echoed through the deserted diner. Come on, Lizzo. Ghosts don't go around pinching folks. Tell that to my ass, Earl, Lizzo snapped, stomping off toward the back. I'm serious, and I ain't the only one who's noticed. Earl shook his head and took a bite of the pecan pie. Stella's pie was really divine. He was halfway through his second slice when the lights flickered violently. The jukebox in the corner, usually silent, sputtered to life, blasting out a scratchy rendition of I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt by Right Said Fred. Earl ignored it, probably just a bad connection. He was about to ask Stella for a refill when he felt a cold, clammy hand brush against his thigh. He jumped, knocking over his coffee. What the? He looked around. No one was there. Stella was behind the counter, polishing glasses with a practiced hand. Seemingly oblivious, Lizzo was nowhere to be seen. Must be imagining things, Earl mumbled, wiping the coffee off his jeans. Then he felt it again, a definite, unmistakable pinch on his rear end. He yelped, spinning around in his stool. Still nothing. Stella, he shouted. Did you just pinch me? Stella stopped polishing and gave him a look that would curdle milk. Earl, I haven't moved from behind this counter in the last hour. Besides, why would I want to pinch your saggy old ass? Suddenly, the temperature in the diner dropped. The jukebox started skipping on the I'm Too Sexy track, creating an unsettling, repetitive loop of I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt. Earl felt a distinct chill crawl down his spine. He tried to rationalize it. Maybe a draft, maybe he just needed to lay off the coffee. But then he heard it, a low, raspy chuckle coming from behind him. Hey there, sugar, a voice wheezed, smelling faintly of stale beer and regret. Haven't had a piece of pie like that in years. Earl swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. He could practically feel eyes on him, leering, appraising. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like lead. Another voice, this one a high-pitched cackle, joined the first. Yeah, he's got a nice rack of ribs, that is. Earl realized with a sickening certainty that Lizzo had been right. The ghosts were not only real, but they were also creepy and hungry. He grabbed his coffee mug, now empty, and stood up slowly, his eyes darting around the deserted diner. All right, you perverted poltergeist, he said, his voice trembling slightly. I'm leaving. And if I feel one more spectral hand on my person, I swear I'll call a priest. He backed away slowly, his eyes fixed on the shadows that seemed to be deepening in the corners of the room. As he reached the door, he heard two ghostly voices erupt in a chorus of laughter. Don't be a stranger, sugar. Come back anytime, big boy. Earl didn't waste any time getting into his rig. He practically threw himself into the driver's seat and started the engine and peeled out of Stella's pit stop, leaving a trail of dust and lingering sense of unease in his wake. He glanced in his rearview mirror. The flickering neon sign of Stella's pit stop seemed to wink at him. He shuddered and vowed to take a different route from now on, maybe even to stick to decaf. As he drove off into the New Mexico night, he could still hear that faint echo of "I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt," and the ghostly laughter. A chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest things aren't monsters under the bed, but rather perverted spirits with a penchant for pecan pie and a wandering ethereal hand. And he definitely needed new underwear. I have that book, Roger. Well, thank you, SDL. Haha, monkey poop. What's up, Coker? I missed you tonight. I must have missed you. I'm sorry I didn't say hi. I hope you're doing well. That shirt was scary. I have my cassette of Right Said Fred still. I have my original cassette. And I have the what was it? Not the demo, but the single where they did a he did have skid marks. What's up, Scotty Lee? I know I must have missed him because I've seen I see people saying hi, but I didn't spot him yet. All right, here we go. Tina Marie, how are you? This is the last night or last experience of the night. Maggie Mayhem, have a good night, dear. This happened a long time ago and was one of my first encounters I had ever had. I was 11 years old, staying with my grandmother on the reservation. I am Native American, Cree. And I was only supposed to be there for a day, but then it started to storm badly. It lasted nearly 4 days. To this day, one of the worst storms we had ever had. The power was out for maybe 3 days, so no lights, no stove, nothing. The layout of my grandmother's house is pretty important. I don't think you would even call it a house. It's more like a trailer house. It must have been the third night. My cousin, my aunt, and I were all sleeping in the living room, and from where I was sleeping, you could see through the small kitchen window. I was awoken by a sound of something talking in a strange voice. At the time, I couldn't think of what it reminded me of, but now, after thinking about it for years, it sounded like a goat trying to speak English. I still don't know what it was trying to say, but I heard, "Hey, boys, hey." I just got the chills typing that out. At first, I thought it was just my cousin being annoying, but then I noticed there was a big figure standing outside of the kitchen window that had its fists against the glass. And then I noticed it's banging on the window, not hard enough to make a ton of noise, though. I saw the outline of horns, similar to a big horned goat. The fur covered its entire body from what I could see, and then the lightning flashed and I saw its face. Very hard to describe, but it looked like what you'd imagine a goat man to look like, maybe a bit more on the goat side. Red eyes, but not glowing. It looked old and rough. Its fur was mostly gray with some brown. The window that was about 6 feet above the ground, so that would put this thing at like 7.5 feet. Throughout the night, it stayed in place, but the banging turned to scratching, and the attempts to speak turned to growls. Lightning flashed a few more times, and every time I could see its anger in its face growing more and more. I eventually woke my cousin up crying. She came and lied with me until I fell asleep. I had a hard time falling asleep because every time I closed my eyes, I would see eyes looking back at me. And when I did finally fall asleep, I had a nightmare involving the goat man. In my dream, I watched him walk over to our neighbors and brutally eat them and murder them, come back with a decapitated head swinging around my face, taunting me. Why? I still don't know. What's weird is that my cousin said that she couldn't see it, but she could hear the growling, scratching. I remember at one point moving to another room and looking outside the window and seeing its full body, which was not like a minotaur, but like a satyr. It noticed me, and that's when I ran back to my living room. I forgot to mention that that morning after we checked outside for evidence and we found huge hoof prints going from window to window and scratch marks on the window. Prints were about the size of two open hands. Now I've read countless experiences, but none come close to this night. It was the scariest encounter I've had to this day, and I've seen a lot of things. I think a dogman, and when I asked a medicine woman about it, she said that it just passing by and that it was angry because I was able to see it and I was not supposed to be seeing it. While sharing this, I remembered something that happened around that time too. Not to me, but to somebody who lived on the reservation. He was a known pedo and one night got drunk and apparently saw this goat man. After that, they said he went crazy and ended up murking himself. There have been many reports about this goat man terrorizing kids on different reservations. They describe it like the Minotaur figure. All right. Guys, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate everybody spending time with me. Johnny Ohm. If next week's Lot Lizard Story doesn't have wrestling moves in it, then 20. All right, hang on. I will put, hang on. Wrestling moves. All right, wrestling moves. Lot Lizard. Wrestling moves. It's got to have Aromac. Any other suggestions? Come on, give me some suggestions. I did a Mothman one already, but we'll put Mothman with Aromac. That's got to have Aromac in that story. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much. Good night, Sonny. Maybe. Lizzo, I did Black Eyed Kids and I did Shapeshifter. Maybe. Shadow People. All right. All right, guys. Thank you for spending. Hey, I haven't seen Gringo tonight. Did anyone see Gringo? Or Mert? Was Mert here tonight? I didn't see Mert either. Good night, MJ. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I didn't see Gringo or Mert tonight. I hope they're okay. All right, guys, I love you all. Stay safe. Stay happy. Don't let your meatloaf. And be good to each other, I guess. I don't know. Thank you once again, and I'll see you all next week. I love you guys.